And welcome to the 24-hour marketing mastermind. So glad that you made it. And if you're getting this from an email or somebody's invited you, we want you to be very welcome here. We've got a really great subject we want to talk about today. But before we actually get into the subject, we want to go through the panel and introduce everybody here. So I'm going to start off to my left. We're going to go age before beauty. Sorry, Pops. But
What do you
Pops,
mean? What do you mean?
I don't know. How are you doing there, man?
Excellent. Getting closer to our adventure, and life is good, as always. Doing real well. Staying busy. Thanks.
Awesome. That's great. I mean, I'm so excited for you two. You two are like doing the venture of a lifetime, which I'm so happy for you guys for. I was going to say jealous, but I'm jealous in a good way. And I just want to say that that's amazing that you guys are going to be touring the States and just, living the life. That's amazing that this business can afford you to do that. That's terrific. And so we're going to go over to Mr. Jamie Short. Jamie, how are you doing, buddy? Glad to have you back here again.
Oh, I'm doing great. I got a message on the way home, and it was a phone number, so I called it, and it was my son. He is stateside, stationed in New Hampshire, and it's the first time I've talked to him live on the telephone in almost 2 years. So it was pretty cool. We got to have a good chat before I got on the workshops, on the mastermind here. So it's been a good week.
That's
so
awesome,
far.
man. That's awesome. That's awesome. And how are things going business-wise?
Oh, pretty good. Working on a new blog theme and a new blog plugin that gives you a lot of functionality and builds you a nice, pretty blog page.
Awesome, man. Because Jamie's our tech guy. Whenever we've got a technical issue and we're having trouble, and if we're completely lost, we just run to Jamie and say, "Jamie, please help," and he's always there to help us out. So we appreciate you, Jamie, for that. And then we have, oh my goodness, the multitasker of all of them, Miss Katie Stage. I was joking earlier that we should call her EKT instead of EKG. So here's the Echo Katie Stage. So Katie, how are you doing? Tell us, how excited are you to go on your venture?
Super duper exciting. And actually we went for a walk. Pops and I went for a walk before this hangout, and I was actually super excited to bring in some big news onto the hangout that I was actually going to be not in my PJs, but we came early and I got in my PJs, and now I'm in my in my PJs on this hangout. So unfortunately there is no exciting news that I'm in regular clothes. I am in my PJs.
Awesome. Awesome. You're not in your PJs, are you?
I'm always in my PJs. Hold on, I'll show you. Look at those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, PJs don't mean personal jeans.
Yeah, that's true. And I could probably imagine you. In fact, I dare you, Katie. I dare you to go and walk in the mall like that.
No, I don't want to look like I just came from Walmart.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to get into the subject that we're going to be talking about today, and we certainly hope that you guys can make it to these live moments where we can actually interact with you. I see that we have Mr. Bob Nevin over there. So good to see you, buddy. And I also want to give a shout out to a buddy of mine from Ghana. His name is Michael. And Michael, if you're watching this, if you're watching the recording, I had a conversation with Michael earlier because he reached out to me and said that he wanted to get his business started out online. And it got me thinking about the fact that, it's really quite practical for us to give people a real way that they can actually take their business online. And so what we want to do here is over the next few weeks is to actually get a series going on how to get a business going from scratch. All right, so we want to teach you about how you can actually get your business going and getting that going online from scratch. And just before we carry on, I just want to make sure that we actually are live and that people can actually see us. Are people actually seeing us, Katie? I think they are.
Yes, they are. I was on the page, and I'm like, oh, now I got to answer.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. All right, so we are actually live. People can see us. I just don't want to have us have those moments where nobody can actually see us, and then I forget to actually do something. But I did embed the code, and I did do everything correctly. So I hope people are actually getting this recording. You know, I mentioned earlier that I was contacted by Michael from Ghana, and Ghana is a place in Africa. And there's this guy who's starting his own business, right? And he's actually in the business of selling bangles. And he reached out to me and he wanted to know how you can take his business online. And so I gave him some pointers that he can actually do to actually get his business going. And I want to talk to you guys about that over the next few weeks. But today we're going to be talking about a subject which I think a lot of people need to actually think about. And that is mainly the reasons why people fail online, but also the kind of excuses people come up with to say that they can't really run a business online. And what I want to do, if you give me the moment and the time, is to actually go over these points with you and everybody on this panel to explain a few things. And we want to go over 5 key principles here and 5 key main excuses that people do all the time when you talk about starting a business, all right? And we're not talking about starting an actual physical business where you're opening up a store. We're talking about starting up a business online where you can actually generate revenue. But we're going to cover the 5 main excuses people come up with when they are daunted or when they're given this task of saying, would you like to start a business online? And most people say no because of this first reason that I'm going to talk about today. And then everybody else is going to talk about their angle and how they see it and also. And if they want to repeat what I've said, that's fine as well. But maybe, because I'm sure everybody else has got a different way of looking at this as well. And the first reason people normally give, this is probably the most common, is that people say, I don't have enough money to start my business online. And I want to say, and yes, I am talking to people primarily who are living in a first world country, but I need you to understand that I don't live in a first world country. And so this, if I can do this, then anybody else can. And I need you to understand that at the heart of it, starting a business, you need money, obviously. And when I talk about this, people are saying to me, well, Dave, I can't really start a business online. And I'll say, well, do you have a computer? Yeah. Do you have a camera? Yeah, I do. I've got a webcam. Do you have a microphone? Yeah, I got a microphone with my webcam. Do you have software? Yes, I got software. Do you have an internet connection? And more than likely they say yes. And then I'm saying to them, well, what's stopping you from starting a business online? Because that's really your vehicle, right? That's really the main way that you get going. Is if you've got all of those elements, you absolutely can start a business online. But people seem to think that you need to invest thousands and thousands of dollars into get going and to get yourself going. And I want you to understand this, that speaking as a South African, I want to say that a couple of $100 in my country is quite a bit of money, but yet I pulled it off. Not straight away, but I built up to that point. And I want to actually throw this over to the panel, and I want to start with Jamie, because he had some really good points about this. Is that, Jamie, a couple of $100 a month to start your own business online, is that a lot, speaking from an American point of view?
My opinion, it's not, because I spend a couple $100 a month in gas just back and forth to my job. You know, and I've heard this several times, and you know, the one thing I can say, you know, I quit eating out at lunch. You know, that saves me back. I average $8 a day on lunch times $5 a day. You know, times 5 days. That's $40 a week. You know, times 4 weeks, that's $160 a month. You know, you're spending on eating out at lunch. Quit going to Starbucks. That's $6 a day. 5 days, that's $30 a day. You know, times 5 days, that's another $80 a day. You know, I mean, there's your money to get in and start a business right there. You know, so, you know, and other things you can get rid of. I'm not going to cover them all because I'm sure Pops and Katie have some things to say on this too. But one thing you can get rid of is your cable bill. If you're working a business and you're not watching TV, you can get rid of that damn cable bill, because there's no point in watching the TV anyway if you don't have time to work on your business. There's your free time to work your business right there.
Yeah, does Katie or Pops want to interject here? Because I just know one of them want to say something right now.
I do. Oh yeah, totally. Well, actually, what I typically I look at it kind of like a different way, where it's all about how you present it and tell people exactly how much to invest. Because when I first started in this industry, there had to be a $5,000 investment, $5,000, fork up $5,000 to start a business, to basically be like, have everything, to be all in kind of thing. But what we got going on currently right now, it's actually much, much less than that. I just wanted to give that shock value, because what we do is like it's a monthly, let me say it this way. What if I told you, if you could invest $900 for a 6 months access, would you be willing to do that? Or what if I told you, if it's $150 per month with a 6 month commitment, would that be better? It sounds much better, obviously, because like what Jamie was saying, you can obviously come up with $150 just by slashing your cable bill, or coming up with $150 is nothing. It really isn't, because the lifestyle that we have as Americans, it's we have a lot of stuff. We could sell stuff like what Pops and I were doing. I'm pretty sure he's going to talk about this, but we had to get rid of a lot of stuff that we've been holding on to for no reason whatsoever. And now living in an RV means you have to downsize a lot. So having to sell off a lot of stuff, we can come up with the money fast. You know what I mean? So like I'm saying, a 6 month commitment, that's what I tell my clients, 6 months commitment, and I can guarantee your life will change. I can't guarantee money as an ROI, right? But I can guarantee that your life will change within that 6 months, even if it's just like a tweak of a mindset or something like that, right? And you learn a new skill. So that's important. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Pops?
I found that I was spending more time working on my business, that I actually was taking less trips in my vehicle, so I was saving gas. I wasn't putting much money in, and I would do my shopping more constructively, so I wouldn't have to run back to the store and buy incidentals. I found myself not doing that so much. And like Katie said, I was selling off stuff in preparation to live my dream, and that is to live in an RV and travel the United States and then beyond, here and there. But while I was doing that, I also was looking at stuff to lighten up, and I realized when I saw this stuff, I wasn't using it anyway. Even if I wasn't going to downsize in order to go traveling, I'd get rid of it anyway, or I should, but it just sits there and sits there and sits there because there's no action on that. And I found that, I really did lighten the load regardless of whether I was going to be leaving town or not. And you can save money in that regard. Boy, there's so much stuff. Even if it goes for $10, $12, and I had some high-end stuff too, that I did woodworking, so I was able to get rid of that stuff because I quit doing that so I could work on my business. So I focused more on the business, which allowed me to get rid of stuff that I wasn't interested in doing anymore, because my future in my business was much more important than the hobbies that took me away from and took my time away from being able to work on my future.
Thanks for that, Pops. It's really it's something that I think everybody needs to get their mind around, that when people want to come up with this idea that they don't have enough money, I think a lot of it has to do with perspective and how they see money. So I know this story, and you may know the person I'm talking about, and I'm not going to mention names, but I know of somebody who was in debt $1 million, and he's coming back from the bank with his wife, walking home, and a beggar comes up to him and says, "Do you have any money?" And right after the beggar went away, the homeless guy went away, this guy says to his wife, "You know what, honey? That man was $1 million richer than I was." He says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, I'm in debt $1 million and he isn't." And it really is about perspective. A lot of it has to do with perspective. You know, if you want to look at yourself as being in debt, you're going to have a mindset of being in debt. If you want to be a person who has the mindset of actually wanting to make yourself go forward and do something, you can make it happen. Every single one of us has a God-given talent to do something in exchange for some form of currency. You want to make some money, you absolutely can. And I did the same. Even though it was 10 times harder for me in this country, I went to my friends and I said, "Please give me work and I will do whatever it is I need to do so that I can get my business going." And I did it little by little so that I could slowly build up revenue to get me going. And this is what we want to do. We actually want to cover this in the next month or two, about how you can practically take your business from scratch and to get yourself going so you can actually start seeing results. And we're going to be giving you practical advice that you can take away and use on anything. And we're officially going to be starting that next week. And we want you guys to come back and listen to this. But we need to get this out of the way so that you do not have any more excuses. All right, you need to understand that you cannot say to yourself, "Well, I don't have enough money to start a business," because we hear it so often that we just convince ourselves that we can't do it. But you absolutely can. You absolutely can. You need to trust us on this because we've been there. And which brings me to my next point, and this is probably the most common thing I hear when people tell me they don't have time. I've been told this by family members all the time. "I don't have time. I've got 3 kids. You know, I got a husband that works. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I can't do this." Well, I want to tell you a few things. Number one, okay, I don't have any kids. So you might say, "Well, Dave, how can you speak to this experience?" Well, I'll tell you this. I've been in this industry long enough to know people who don't have kids, who have kids, who have, and I kid you not, up to 10 children in their family, and they still manage to run a business like Jamie and run a business online. Now you got to ask yourself, how is that even possible? Well, I'll tell you how that's possible. Very simply put, and it's just simply time management. And if you don't know what time management is, it's really a case of sorting your days out, sorting the times out, and figuring out what's important and what isn't. And this particular method that I'm talking about now actually comes from a guy, his name's Dan Pena, and he has the most amazing advice that you can ever have about time management. And he does this with all his students, and I challenge you to do the same. Is that take your week from Monday to Sunday and chart out your week hour by hour from beginning of the day to the end of the day, and write down, even in 30-minute increments, write down exactly what it is you do in that hour or in the 30 minutes. And I guarantee you will always find time. Now, if your whole entire day is full and you absolutely have no time, there are things you can cut out, believe me. Otherwise we couldn't cope. Because unless you're working for NORAD or 24-hour missile watch, you absolutely can do this. You need to understand that. All right. And so I believe personally that time is not really an excuse. I believe if you're saying you don't have enough time, you're really just trying to come up with a reason why you can't do it. You think about your number one vice. Everybody has a vice. I don't care who you are. All right. Everybody has a vice. Mother Teresa had a vice. I'm telling you right now, everybody's got a vice. You can find time to do that. You can find time to run your own business. Maybe you guys want to add to this on the panel.
Actually, I was just thinking, I really wish I could remember who said this, but I'm pretty sure multiple people have done this, multiple successful people who started their business, whether they start with an idea or if they sold an app to like Apple or something. It doesn't matter. It's like if you have an idea, you can turn it into a business. And when you find this idea and you run with it, you're going to find time. But there was this one specific thing where when I started for 2.3 years, I was like in learning mode and I was taking little action steps. But there was a specific, not lesson, something you do every day, habit. I found the word. Okay, so this little habit of writing down everything that you do every single day, not a checkoff list. I'm talking about all the things that you do that's important, that's tailored to your business. And you're either going to go one way or the other. If you are the person that feels like you don't do enough, you can actually see that list and you're like, holy crap, I actually got all that done today. That tailors to my business. Or if you're someone who says, I don't know exactly what to do every day, or maybe you're someone who says, maybe I feel guilty that I haven't done, or that I've done like, well, not too much, but to make sure that this was work. Maybe it's like a checkoff mode where you have to get certain things done, but maybe you are doing like you're kind of running away from it and trying to find excuses like, oh my gosh, I have to fold my laundry. I have to write this blog post, but my laundry, it has to get folded, and you go and fold your laundry, right? And then, or something, it's something like that can wait, that you can actually finish a blog post or run ads or do something or write an email, is whatever strategy that you're doing, or talk to 10 people a day, whatever that task is for that day to get done, but you're allowing other things outside of your business to get in the way where it can wait. And that list is pretty important. So how's my microphone? Is it too loud, by the way?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. Maybe Pops, you want to say something, or Jamie? You don't have to. It's just if you guys have something to add.
I can. When I started my business, I was working full-time for the post office. I worked part-time, working almost every day for a part-time job that took about 3 hours out of my day. I cared for an elderly father who was in assisted living, and I was one of two of us who were primary caregivers. I was the physical and visiting caregiver. My sister would be able to get there once a week or two, and she was the financial assistant, taking care of his monies and whatever needed to be paid and the bills and such. And aside from that, I have family. And I found time. Now, it wasn't easy, but it's just about priorities and my future goals. And I knew it was going to take longer because I didn't have some of the time that other people did, but it doesn't matter. I was still working towards my end goal, and that's what was important to me. So I found the time to do it, limitedly, but I still was moving forward, and that's what's going to get you there. And eventually, my dad died. I retired from the post office, and then I finally gave up a part-time job and got on my retirement. But my dad was still around, so I spent more time with him because I was allowed. But then eventually time frees up for you, so you can get into more of it. And you're going to find, the more you get into your business, the more you're going to find the time, the more excited you get about it, the more when you start getting results from it, you're going to go, oh my God, I guess I don't have to fold that laundry. After all, I'll throw it in the basket, and if it's wrinkled, who cares? I'm just sitting here at the computer talking to people on the phone or whatever, so it doesn't matter.
I love that. I absolutely love that example. That's brilliant. In fact, it reminds me of my brother. I call him my brother. He's not really my brother, but we've known each other forever. But he was a computer guy, like complete computer. I mean, the guy just saw the Matrix and he was working on computers. And his idea of laundry was just do the laundry, chuck it in the corner, and then grab his shirt and wear it whenever he needed to, because that was his priority. And obviously, when you start a business, there are things you're going to give up. You cannot have your, what's that expression? You can't have your cake and eat it too, or whatever the case is. You cannot expect to run a a full life of what you're doing and then decide you want to start a business, because I'm telling you right now that you need to go through the process of making sacrifices to make it work. Jamie, you want to add to that? Or
Yeah, and I'm not picking on anybody when I say this because I had to do this myself, but you got to put the clicker down and get your big butt off the couch and go get on your computer. And, you know, and another thing, you got to take, we all have time gaps, you know, in our day. You know, like I commute to work, I have an hour and a half commute. So I fill that commute with productive activities, listen to mindset training or listen to a training video, or, I mean, I can't watch a video and take notes, but I can listen to it. You know, and your mind absorbs that stuff. You know, your lunchtime, eat your sandwich at your desk and read 15 to 20 pages a day. I think it's Jim Rohn that said if you read 15 to 20 minutes a day, that you can, by the end of the year, you'll read like 20 books, you know, just by reading 15 to 20 minutes a day. So use that time when you're not productive to do stuff to educate your mind. And, you know, that'll help you get into a better mindset in your business.
absolutely. And you know what, I've got let's see, I've got one more point. I've got 2 more points to go, and then my last point, my second to last point, I've got a stat that's going to blow your mind. It's going to absolutely blow your mind, and I can't wait to get to that one. I'm actually dying to get to it now. But this brings me to the third main argument that I get about people saying that they can't start a business online because they don't have the experience. Now, first of all, I want to say that when I was a kid, and when I was like not even almost a teenager, I loved cooking. I love cooking. And whenever there was an opportunity for me to cook, I would grab it with both hands, regardless of whether I knew how to do something or not. I was so hungry to do it. I did it. I saw my dad, who was he makes great dough for pizza. And even though I'm not very experienced, I just knew that I could do it because my dad could do it. I had such belief in myself that I could actually do that thing. Experience today, people have no excuse for saying that they don't have the experience, because the truth be told, there is so much information on the internet today. You can become an expert in virtually everything. Do you know how upset doctors get at patients who come and diagnose themselves because they know more about the condition than the doctor does, even though the doctor's gone to med school and everything? But so much information nowadays is on the internet. You can become an expert in just about anything. And that is 100% true. I remember, just to give you an example, tell a bit of a story. Years ago, when I was working in the IT industry, and I was working as an IT technician, as an assistant to somebody. I was helping her out with the servers and on the computers, but I had no experience about how to put cable in and how to put the plugs in and the jacks and the RJ45s, and I had no experience. So my boss comes up to me and says, "Dave, how long would it take you to wire this place up so we can have cables put in this place?" And it was a big place. And I said, "About a month." I had no experience. I had no way of knowing what the heck a RJ45 was, let alone how to actually put it together. But I just said, "Yeah, I can do it." Because I knew a few things. Number one, I knew somebody in the industry, which we all do know. And if you want to know, you can know somebody in the industry as well. You know us. All right. I knew somebody in the industry. I had the internet. And I knew that it was just a case of a few hours before I mastered something. It is so easy to master something today that it was maybe 50 years ago. To say you have no experience is ridiculous. I'll give you an example. At the end of this hour, you will have more experience than somebody who's never heard about marketing, just by listening to this recording, because you've gained a bit of knowledge that you can take away with you. You have more experience than thousands of people out there online than anybody else who hasn't heard about the way that you can actually do this. And so maybe you guys want to speak to this as well about experience, or what you've gone through, some examples maybe.
Actually, I have one quick one. I know Pops was saying he has more than just one example on the subject. Didn't you, Pops? But I just wanted to quickly say that there was somebody, I was actually listening. We're talking about utilizing time. I was listening to some recordings on an app of people who are top earners in our industry while I was working, right? Doing whatever I want to do. I could walk around, I put on my earphones, and I'm just, doing whatever. So anyways, this person was talking. I can't remember his name. Oh, I apologize. But he was talking about when he first started, he didn't realize that the skill he already knew, that he already had, the skill that he has was his passion was he's really good at talking to people and listening. And he turned that into a business, and now he's like a six-figure earner kind of thing. But just something so simple like that, you could turn that simple skill into a business. It's awesome.
Pops?
I make a mean booyah. For people who don't know what a booyah is, it's a big stew, and I helped when my kids were real little, when Katie was little, and we lived in Newport, which I'm in now. I would help the fire department make this big booyah, and we'd made kettles of it so that they could sell for fundraising. But I was just the stir guy, but I watched what was going in, and I kind of got an idea. And I'm a half-baked cook anyway, and I don't bake, but I do cook. And then I helped up in Vadnais Heights, another city that I lived in one time, but that was an overnight store. But anyway, it isn't that difficult to do. But I did look on, well, I guess it could be, but I looked online and I researched some other recipes and I put together my own. And now I make booyah for fundraisers and for private parties that sells, and they all like it. I haven't had anybody say this is crap. But I was able to take the information that a little limited bit of knowledge that I had from helping out, and then researching the rest of it and putting it together. And anybody can make a stew, but it's about the spices and stuff. And you have a secret spice bag that nobody's supposed to know what's in there except for the cook. And it's just a big mystery thing. And it sells. And that's just one example of many things that me and you and you and you and you and you can learn on the internet and pick up and market or accomplish. And it really turns out to be a passion. Like, I love making booyah, and it's a great bit of fun. And of course, I love woodworking. I watched my dad woodwork. I didn't have much hands-on because I was just a little guy. But I watched him, and I remember doing some of the mannerisms during the woodworking safety and how to cut, just learned it through osmosis. And I became a pretty good woodworker. But it isn't difficult to learn that stuff. We all are capable. That's why you can walk and talk and do what you do at work. You had to be trained into doing something, and you're probably very good at what you do. And it's no different than here.
Thanks, Pops. I know that Jamie we have a very similar background in that we've got RT background. And I know, just speaking for myself in the RT industry, it is so, come on, Jamie. It's not that difficult if you just pay attention to it. You can actually become quite proficient, right?
Oh, yeah. All you do is pay attention and just do it. I'm self-taught in IT. So I don't have a professional training in IT. I taught myself everything. And, we're all born with certain skills, and we learn certain skills as we grow up. And it doesn't matter if you think you don't have experience or not, you have experience in something. And I jotted down a few things, and if you've ever talked on a home video, then you have experience in being on video. If you've ever wrote or responded to an email, then you have experience in email marketing and blogging. If you've ever carried on a conversation with somebody, then you have the skills of listening and attraction marketing. So You know, those are just a couple examples. You know, I learned everything I know about WordPress by watching YouTube videos. You know, and Dave and Katie and Pops can all attest that I know a lot about WordPress. I learned it all, taught myself by watching YouTube videos.
And there is no substitute for that. I mean, we live in an age now where you can almost to the point where I'm sure if you had the right tools, you can probably operate on somebody because we've got so much information. This is not giving you permission to go and operate on somebody. What I'm saying is that we have so much information on the net that we can do just about anything. People can make amazing things. They can also make destructive things, all by going on the internet. I think the number one problems we as marketers face is when somebody asks us a question like, how do I upload a video? And you will not believe how many people say that when all you have to do is to just type that in Google and you'll find the answer instantly. There are so many things that you can find online. To say you don't have experience is a cop-out. And honestly, you've got to start somewhere, and you just become better at it as time goes on. The problem is that we generalize too much. We generalize the information. But the moment you actually sit down and start to realize that things actually have a way of fitting together, things have a way of coming together. You know, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking, what am I going to talk about? And I started to sit down and to write a few points down. And as I took the time to think about what I wanted to say, it all came to me. Because I took the time to make that exercise of writing something down. Do you have any idea how many people decide they're going to do a hangout or they're going to do something and they don't write a thing? They don't learn a thing. And they sit there and they think, well, I can't do this. But the moment you take the time to prepare and to learn and to go online and to learn from other people, you've gained so much experience. It's a cop-out if you think that you need experience to become successful online. Now, the next point, and which is my second to last point, of which I'm going to blow you away with a stat that's I just love this thing. I'm going to talk about the last thing I'm going to say. But this is the one where I think a lot of people don't really have a lot of self-confidence, and they think that they are afraid of failing. They are afraid because they are afraid to fail. And I've got to tell you one truth that is consistent with every successful person on the planet. Every single successful person has failed. It has failed. I've failed. Katie has failed. Jamie has failed. Pops has failed. Bob has failed. Sarah has failed. Andrew has failed in something. We have all failed in something. And that's a good thing, because it means you're on the road to success. Because every failure brings you closer and closer to your goal. There isn't a single person on this planet that says, I did it the first time and I became successful instantly. The only way that happens is if you win the lotto.
Or they're spammers.
Yeah, and the scammers. And the scammers. 3 easy steps to success. I make $10,000 in 1 minute. You know, we've all seen those things. It simply isn't true. I want to tell you right now, from a professional marketer, for myself, that I'm going to tell you that you will fail. You will. There's no question about it. But you need to understand that in order for you to get to that success point, you need to cry. You need to struggle. And you need to go through the pain. It's kind of like, I'm sure it's like, you know, when giving birth and there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain in order for life to happen. I mean, I've never given birth, but I understand it's quite painful. But the point is that if you want something beautiful, you need to go through that struggle. And Katie said this very aptly a few weeks ago when she said, it's kind of like when you want to get a heart started, you've got to crack some ribs. You've got to go through that. So failure is just part of the deal. And if you cannot handle failure, you probably haven't succeeded at much. Think about that for a second. How many times have you been coasting through life You're just coasting along. You're not really failing. You're just following the rules. You just go into your job, and you just feel like you're not actually doing much, and you're not challenging yourself. You feel trapped because you feel like you'll never get out of the cycle of working in the same job again. You know why? Because you're not taking any risks. You're not stretching yourself. You're too afraid of what people might think of you if you fail. But I can tell you this, it's the most beautiful feeling in the world when you go back to those friends who say to you, that's a scam, that'll never work out. Why are you spending so much time online? And now they look at me and go, oh, David, I was really skeptical, but I got to see, you really got it together. And now they try to come up with more excuses like, that couldn't happen, that couldn't happen to me because you were just lucky. And my eyes go like this. And I'm thinking, are you serious? You think I was just lucky? I'll tell you this much. If the reason for, if I quit because I was scared of failing, I would have given up years ago. Because this has been a long journey for me. It's been about 11 years. I failed miserably for 7. Miserably. But I never had this type of support that I have today. I didn't have the type of support that I have with Katie, that I have with Jamie, that I have with Pops, that I have with Pat Patterson, that I have with Bob Nevin, that I have with we've got Sarah here, we've got Andrew, we've got Colleen. I've never had that type of support system. And I know that it's a lot better now than it was 11 years ago. I never had any of that. So maybe you guys want to talk about this whole failing thing. Why is it that you kept on?
I wanted it more than I was concerned about failure. I had some doubts, and I almost backed out a few times. And I just thought, if I had to work for somebody for the rest of my life, it just was a far worse thing than failing in this business that could ever be. And I couldn't think of anything else but to make this work. And I made mistakes. I didn't, like Dave said, I didn't have a big support group, which we have now. And we have a private one. If you were to join with us, we have a private one where everybody gets to interact and everybody supports everybody. We teach things and we are taught things. Even new people that come in have new ideas, and that's the mastermind beauty of what we have going. But it's inevitable, like Dave said, it's inevitable you're going to fail. So just learn from that and adjust your course, just like a sailboat has to adjust their course with the wind. You are the rudder. So you just steer yourself in the right direction the way the wind's going, and surround yourself with other people that are doing the same thing you're doing. And you can't help but have some success because that's just the way it works. It's just the way it works. You can't, unless you experience, it's hard to put it into words, but it does work if you work it, but you have to work it. And that's the thing, you have to work it.
I'm just going to go real quick, Dave, is that the reason why I haven't stopped, actually, I ask myself that a lot, and I honestly have no idea why. Something's pulling me, something's pushing me. But I did say at one point with a client of mine, because he asked, he's like, oh, this is a life. I'm in it for life, aren't I? I didn't know this was a life sentence or whatever. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course it is. Why wouldn't you? Kind of like I thought about what Dave says, you do it until you die, repeat until dead. And then I thought about it. I'm like, it definitely beats the alternative. I'd rather live for something than dying at something I don't believe in. You know what I mean? Like, because what is that one saying? It's like people die at 25 and then they get buried at 80. It's like, I don't want to be like that. So there's just something that, you know what I mean? It's just like it's something that keeps pulling me to keep going forward and just not stopping. So it's an amazing industry. So I absolutely love it.
Jamie, you want to say something?
Oh yeah, I mean, some point in your business career or your life itself, you're going to fail. It's just a matter of how you take that failure, and each failure, it's not really a failure, it's a stepping stone to your success. And, this reminds me of one of my favorite, I've been on this Rocky Balboa kick for the last couple of weeks, but one of my favorite quotes by Rocky Balboa is, every champion was once a contender that refused to give up. And Eric Thomas has another really good quote that I really like. It's pain is temporary. After a while, it'll go away and something else will take its place. And both of those are very true. You have to start somewhere, and whether you don't have any experience doing something, as you start gaining experience, you're going to fall on your face. I've worked in the design industry for 18 years, and I've fell on my face many times, made huge mistakes that people, could have cost big time money, and it's a failure in some people's eyes, but in my eyes, it was a stepping stone to make me the great designer that I am today. And even though, and same with learning other skills and stuff like that, you may fall on your face, and but what do you do when you fall on your face? Do you lay there and take it, or do you get up and keep fighting?
I agree 100%. It is the person that keeps on going there. And not everybody is going to make it, because the truth is that people that don't make it, they drop out before they've even given them a chance to breathe. People have been in this industry for 6 months and they leave, then a year and then they leave, and then 2 years and then they leave. It's the person that sticks in there and just carries on. When you are still doing it, and years later your friends are saying, "You're still doing that thing?" That is the type of person that you need to be, because you just keep on doing it. And there's a great video that you should go and watch by Scott Adams, and I mentioned this before, called How to Fail and Succeed at Almost Anything. It's a great video that you should go and watch. And Pops is talking about this. It's kind of like steering a rudder. It's kind of like you learn something, and then you take a stepping stone, like Jamie says, and you learn something else, and you move on to the next thing, and you learn something else, and you move on to the next thing. So when you actually get to a point where all of those puzzle pieces fit together, it makes a lot more sense. And that is how we survive. That's how we get there. And now this brings me to the point that I'm very excited about and I want to share with you, and that is about one of the reasons people say they don't want to get involved with online marketing is because they say something like, the market is saturated. You have any idea how many times people have said that to me? "Oh, Dave, the market is saturated." Well, I want to throw some figures at you right now. Okay, I want to tell you something interesting. And this was a stat a few years ago, and it's probably higher now. But do you know that every single day, 70,000 new people come online who want to start a business? 70,000. This was a few years ago. It's probably higher than that right now. Every single day. Now, here's the other stat I want to throw at you. And the reason I want you to think about this is there are 7.5 billion people that live on the planet today. 3.7 billion people are online. Now, when I say the word billion to you, I think it loses its meaning. It kind of loses its meaning. So I want to ask the panel this question. I want to ask this panel, and maybe you guys want to answer this if you can, because I know there's a delay, so I'll give everyone a chance to think about this. In fact, no, don't. I'm gonna go to the panel, if you can answer quickly, because I don't want someone to Google this, although you might find it hard to Google this immediately, because you can't. I tried. But here goes. If I were to say to you, in seconds, if you had to go back 1,000,000 seconds, how far back would you go? Would it be 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, a day, 2 days? How many on the panel can you answer that question right now? Do you think?
I have no idea. Can't come up
Anybody
with
want to? Anybody on the chat? If you can think of something. Okay, I'm taking. Okay, we'll get to them what they were saying because they're obviously getting this a bit later. But the answer is 12 days. If you had to go back a million seconds, it would be 12 days that you go back, right? Now, I want to go this a little bit higher. If I said to you, I want you to go back 1 billion seconds, how far back do you think you would go? How far back do you think? Anybody? Jamie, you want to take a stab? Are you pulling out your calculator?
No, I'm trying to Google it, but it won't come up.
No, it won't come up. It won't come up. All right, I'll tell you. No, I had to look for this. All right, so the answer is this. Just to give you an idea of how many people live in the world, and I'm talking about 1 billion, you would have to go back 32 years. That's 1 billion seconds, 32 years. And if you want to go a bit further than that, and if I said to you, because you know we've got the national debt in America is what's it, like $19 trillion? 1 trillion seconds, just out of interest, is 31,688 years. I hope you can get a perspective for how many people live in the world, how many people are actually online, and if you tell me the market is saturated, when I tell you that 70,000 people, which is a drop in the bucket to how many people are actually online, there is no room for somebody telling me that the market is saturated. Because ultimately, when people think the market is saturated, they're thinking, well, I can't start a business, because all they're thinking about is starting a big website with putting a whole bunch of products on it and competing with Amazon and competing with eBay and competing with Craigslist. And that's not what starting an online business is about. That's not what starting an online business is about. And that's what we want to talk about in the weeks to come. All right? You can be completely unique. Even the most famous online marketer that's around today doesn't have the amount of people that are online right now and that you can potentially get if you just follow instructions. So I don't know if you guys want to add to that, or if you want to say, something you want to see. Maybe Pops, you want to say something?
Tough act to follow, Dave, but I would say that what you mentioned, the most successful internet marketer today is still marketing, because he knows or she knows and they know that there's more people out there to market to. So what does that tell you? You see them all over the internet, you see them all over Facebook or whatever platform that they use. They're still marketing. They're still selling their wares. And if it was saturated, why would they waste their time? And they're not collecting everybody either, because there are people out there that will resonate with you and not them. Typically because they'll be intimidated by them, in my opinion, because they are so successful. And when we start out, we're more laid back, I guess, and we're more down to earth, and we don't have what they have yet. So we seem more real. Like I talked to a guy the other day about, I'm going to travel the U.S., where you see people on the internet traveling the world and they're putting it on YouTube and they're putting it here and there. To me, it seems surreal. It doesn't seem like something that I could accomplish right now, even though I'm not interested in that. But traveling my country and seeing my country, which holds probably more things than I can see in the rest of my lifetime, because it's such a great, large, and beautiful country, that's what interests me. So there's people out there waiting for you because they want to resonate with you, and you will resonate with them, and you become friends. So that's how that works. You become friends. Like we are friends. Even though we're business partners, we are friends also.
Absolutely. I love that perspective. It's kind of like, because the truth is that if you resonate with somebody a lot better than somebody else, you obviously going to go with that other person because you identify with them. And marketing is a skill that you learn over time. And it's a skill that we've learned to develop. And so we can build our own businesses online. And we need you to understand, if you're watching this, that it's completely possible for you to enter into that arena and go online and reach a potential 3.7 billion people. There's no ways that you could reach it. If you understand what I was talking about, seconds, and how big that is, and a factor of 1 billion, and also with the amount of products that you could potentially sell, is ridiculous to say that it's saturated. It's crazy.
Yeah, actually, I was having a coffee meeting with a couple of marketer guys that are in town with where I live, and I remember telling them that, they're doing their thing, I'm doing my thing. There's two different. Pops is doing his thing, and it's like, you can speak your language. Lord knows I don't want him to start speaking like me or whatever. It's like, I have my audience, they have their audience, Pops has his audience, Dave has his audience, Jamie has his audience. There's like, you just can't like, there's a market for everybody is what I'm trying to say. So you just can't run out of audiences and fans, or people who want to follow you, or people want to learn from you. Because for me, I don't follow just one person. I follow multiple people, and I learn from everybody. And I also learn from people who I use everybody. I've said this before, where I try to use everybody where I can learn what to do and then also what not to do. So it's like, there's somebody for everybody. So you can't tap out of that market.
And it's not as if to say, look, you've got to understand that the reason 97% of people fail in this industry is not because it's scammy. It's not because it doesn't work. It's because people don't have the persistence to carry on. That it just comes down to that. It just comes down to that. And look, I know there are scams out there, but here's another reality. Every single one of us, I'm sure on this panel, has been scammed in one way or another. Why? Because we take risks. We are not scared of failing. I've done it plenty of times. In fact, some of the most successful people in the world have fallen for scams that they learn from and carry on from. It's just the way things go. I was involved with a company that took all my money away. It doesn't matter. I just move on. And you can't be afraid of that, because we learn from it. And then when we see the mistakes that people make, we can warn them. Don't worry about that. The key thing is to find people who are in this industry and to follow their lead. And so we're going to be taking this in the next couple of weeks and possibly into the next month. And we're going to be talking about how you can actually start your own business from scratch. And we're going to show you why you can do this. And then we are going to share with you some of the amazing tools that we have that make it so much easier. And this is what we're encouraging you to do. We often talk about, take a look at the button below that says Get Started Now. There's a reason there is a button there. It's because that button gets you started on the fast track, where you can actually get all the tools that you actually need to get going online very quickly, so you can understand the mechanics of marketing and get inside the training and then we invite you into our workshop. All right. Once you're actually inside the system, you get invited into the workshop, which Pops was talking about, where we meet on a weekly basis and we educate and we help and we train and we give you opportunity to learn and to make mistakes, and to put yourself out there, to get yourself so you can stretch yourself and get out of your comfort zone. Because let's face it, man, we living on a bed of roses. If you are comfortable, if you're not challenging yourself. And so in closing, I just want to, I'll go to the rest of the panel. Maybe they've got some closing thoughts they want to say. I want to start with Pops, then we'll move over to to Katie, and then Jamie, and then we'll close this off. So, Pops, you want to say something?
It's all about support, and we have the support. And it wasn't until I got involved in this group and clicked that button down below that I was able to have more success than I had before. And that is the honest to God truth. I'm here to tell you, and I'm a witness for that. Have a good night. Thank you for being here. We love you all.
Katie.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is that I think one of the best things that that happened within this small group alone is that workshop. I'm telling you, because it is on a Zoom platform. It's not like this where you just see us talking and you're kind of forced to comment in the comment section, where your voice is actually heard. You hop on a camera, whether you have a phone camera or whatever, because everybody can get a smartphone nowadays, and you can hop on a camera, get one of these inexpensive. Every phone comes with one. So just hop on, ask questions. We'll help you out. We share our screen. We don't hold anything back, because our goal is to not leave anybody behind, because we've been there, done that. Like, we've been the one that was left behind. That sucks. So we started this group, this workshop, to help in any way that we can. We have marketers that have been in the business for multiple years, some eons, that could give them a really great insight on how to talk to people, how to run a business, how to start from square one, all the way to whatever process that you need to go to. I think it's great. So I'm really proud of this group that we have here. So click on the button below.
Jamie.
Yeah, I mean, I've had, just with this group on this panel and in the workshop, I've had so many aha moments, and they've seen firsthand me come out of my shell over the last year just from this workshop, and being able to find what I'm good at, which is teaching. I feel a great comfort in teaching in the workshop. That's why I keep all my best secrets in the workshop and only teach the people that show up to the workshop. So if you don't show up, you miss out on the teachings. Yeah, but you might get the replay, but the replay is not quite as good as live. So if you want live teachings, click the button and get in the workshop.
Thanks, Jamie. Before we close out, I just want to mention one thing here, and I feel that this is important to understand about business, because I believe it applies in so many areas of our lives. And this is that if you want to feed somebody, if you want to feed the hungry, you have to feed yourself. There's no good standing in a soup kitchen while you're starving, handing out soup, when your stomach's grumbling. There's no way that you can do that with a happy face. There's no way that you can actually experience any amount of joy doing that. It's the same with love. When people want to find love and they can't seem to find it, because ultimately they don't love themselves first. It's the same reason why when you want a plane and you've got to put your mask over yourself first before you help the person next to you. See, here's the thing about business. And it's a principle that applies across the board, as I mentioned, that you have to feed yourself first so that you can have all the energy in the world to help somebody else. If you do not have value to give, you cannot give anything. And I hope you understand that when you start a business online, it's really about you making yourself more valuable to other people, so that you can become someone who can offer somebody of great value something of worth. You cannot do that if you're hungry. You cannot do that if you're empty. You cannot do that if you have no love. The problem is that when people seek out people to love, they're always looking for love, saying, I want to be loved, but they don't love themselves. How can you love somebody else if you don't love who you are as a person? Because if you truly are feeding yourself as a person like when you feed yourself first so you can feed hungry people. That's the only way that you can give in a generous spirit. And this is what business is about. It's about helping other people. It's about getting other people get what they want. Because at the end of the day, if you do that, you'll get what you want. And I believe, and this is my belief, some people may believe differently, but I believe that if you want to truly succeed, you've got to develop a spirit of unconditional love for other people. If you do not love people, if you do not love yourself enough so you can love other people, you are going to find it incredibly difficult, and you're going to become you're going to be in so much pain. And we want to educate you. We want to help you. And so join us for the next couple of weeks as we teach you how to do this. And we'll go through the basics of building your business, and we'll do it slowly so you can follow and you can take it for anything you want to. But if you want to get a jump start on that, and you want to join us in the workshop, click that link below that says Get Started Now. Get on with the trial, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. Then get in contact with us, and we will show you how to get on that workshop. All right, so you have a great day. We will see you same time next week. You have a great night. Cheers.